That's what a cake batter is, you know? One beautiful emulsion, like a salad dressing. This is essentially salad. Hi, my name is Justine Doiron and I'm in the New York Times Cooking Studio Kitchen, and today we're making cranberry eggnog coffee cake. This cake was largely inspired by my husband's family because they're big eggnog buyers but not big eggnog drinkers. So I am left with a surplus of eggnog, a lot of leftover cranberry sauce from whatever big meals, and they always just sit in the fridge, and I'm always thinking, how can I best use this? If your family's the same, this recipe might be for you. So a coffee cake has a streusel layer on top and then usually a cinnamon sugar layer in the middle. In this recipe, we're swapping the cinnamon sugar layer because sometimes I think coffee cakes can eat really a bit too dense. And cranberry sauce, the beauty of it is it's what brings acid, lightness, like some nice fruity tang to Thanksgiving, Christmas, but it can also bring that same thing to what's traditionally a really dense, sugary, like heavier cake. So this recipe starts with an 8x8 pan, but I've noticed 9x9 are a lot more common. So if you have 9x9, that's totally fine. Just start by greasing just the edges. You don't have to grease the whole thing. That will actually cause excess browning of the outside of the coffee cake, and we don't really want that because it bakes a really long time. So that is just so that the parchment paper sticks. You do want some overhang, and that's so we can lift it out. We'll go right on to the crumble, which is my favorite part. And to bring that eggnog spice into everything, a huge teaspoon of cinnamon. It really carries through the entire crumble and also gives a really nice color. A little bit of nutmeg. I think nutmeg can be a very overpowering spice, but it is a crucial baking spice in the way that it's a key point of eggnog, so that brings the eggnog flavor through, and it's a key point of like holiday baking. I'm also doing a full teaspoon of diamond crystal kosher salt. You've probably heard this on this channel, but if you're using a finer grain salt, you really want to use half a teaspoon. 65 grams of granulated sugar, and giving that another whisk. Then we're gonna kind of go pie crust method. My life changed when I started using a box grater to grate in cold butter, so a full stick of butter is going into this, and we're using the large side of the grater. You wanna have big flakes of butter that are easily coated in flour. So we're working this in with our hands. It will take us a bit longer to get everything combined and hydrated, but you'll see it when it happens. Give me 3 minutes of ambient music. I'm going for pea size, and I'm going for a texture that we'll get to eventually where it holds together in your hands, kind of like wet sand, and then immediately crumbles. It takes a while because we do essentially want the butter to warm up a bit so that it can really get in there, so that the crumble doesn't disappear on us. So with pie crust, you usually want the flakes of butter to still be relatively big so that when they melt in the oven, those create like the layers in your pie crust dough. Here we don't want that, and that's why there's so much flour. We kind of want everything to be integrated together so that the crumbles keep their structure. Another reason I like this recipe is it is like true hand-in-bowl therapy. Like sometimes you just want to work with your hands for a bit, especially during holiday chaos. If you want to disappear, you can be like, I have a crumble to make, and that's what you'll be doing. Okay, 3 minutes later, we've gotten to that texture where it kind of comes together and then breaks apart. Still a lot of crumblies because we got a lot of flour, but that's a good thing. You'll see later. So we'll take this, pop it in the fridge. I can't believe we forgot to talk about the nog, because you've got nog options, eggnog options. We went full boozy in this one, but you can either do boozy or not boozy. The main difference that will impact the cake is it'll be a little denser if you're going the alcoholic version. So we're doing 3/4 cup of eggnog, and then I have 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. This normally in a coffee cake would be something heavier like sour cream, buttermilk, etc. But since we're getting that heaviness, that richness from the eggnog, we're kind of using the Greek yogurt only as a moisture assurance and not really a source of fat or anything like that. And then a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 3 eggs. Should we play the game of can I do it one-handed? That's confidence, cool. Showmanship. No shells. That's my contribution to this holiday season. Okay, whisk this together. The reason I chose eggnog for this recipe is there's already cream in there, there's already egg yolks, there's already sugar. It's like building up the base of a batter, just with some more flavor. Now this can be done either with a hand mixer or a stand mixer, but you do want an electric mixer of some sort to take softened butter and aerate it with sugar as the rest of your wet ingredients. So we're gonna put 170 grams of softened butter in. When that whips in with the 225 grams of sugar, it will be ready to really aerate that. We're gonna start it on the lowest setting and then gradually turn it up. And I'm gonna let it work for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then what to look for is that this changes in color and doubles in size. The butter is mixing with the sugar granules at a high speed, and those granules are actually whipping air into the butter. So this is what's gonna give your coffee cake a lot of lift and a lot of height. If you haven't heard this a million times before, you scrape down the sides because all the butter that gets trapped on the sides didn't get the chance to get all fluffy with everything else. So a quick little scrape, 1 more minute, and then we'll be good. We're about to drizzle in the eggnog mixture. And I'm using a spoon that looks like this, but you can use 1/4 cup. You can drizzle it in. I'm going a little bit at a time. The eggnog mixture has a lot of fat in it, but it also has a lot of moisture. This has a lot of fat in it. So as soon as we get to getting the last of it in, the mixture is gonna look like it's breaking. Don't worry, that's just the nature of the ingredients that we're using. As soon as we add the flour in, everything is gonna emulsify beautifully. Let's go crazy. We're gonna drizzle in the rest. Okay, nog down. And then our dry ingredients are gonna perform some pretty great magic. We're going all in, no need to mix them beforehand, with our 315 grams of flour. And then we have a 1/4 teaspoon each of cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove. So that and our generous serving of salt, because again, sweet is always better with salt, and then only a little bit of baking powder. And this is the most satisfying part of the process because you see like our very liquidy wet ingredients immediately turn into this really glossy batter. It's very satisfying, but let's all say it as a community. We scrape down the sides because we lost a little bit of flour. Delicious. Okay, a little bit more. I'm happy with that. It's smooth, it's beautiful. Now we'll just put it in the pan. With our cranberry sauce all mixed up, we also have the batter and the crumble that I just pulled out of the fridge. The crumble we want to stay as cold as possible for as long as possible, and the batter I'm gonna get a little precise with. So I pulled out a kitchen scale. If you don't have a kitchen scale, I'd say err on the side of 2/3 of the batter going into the bottom. My other trick is I like using a cookie scoop, and that makes it so that I can measure 550 grams of the batter into the pan. And the reason I say 2/3 of the batter in the bottom is the crumble is gonna take up a decent amount of real estate at the top. And so 2/3 of the batter makes it so that when the cake rises, your cranberry filling stays centered. And then an angled spatula to kind of spread everything out nice and evenly. You don't need every tool, but some tools are nice. And then we're gonna go in with our cranberry relish between like the really nice jarred ones and of course the like jelly stiff ones. I'd use either. But I will say use the same amount and make sure to mix it really well because the jarred ones are gonna have excess moisture and you don't want that to ruin the consistency of the cake. And the jellied ones need to be shaken up into something that's really smooth. The thing to note is like make sure they're the sweet cranberry relishes. And you don't want any part of this to be too thick because that will impact how the cake bakes. So try to get this one more even so perfectionists can step in here. We're gonna finish that up, nice even layer. Then the rest of the batter. Now onto our crumble, which has crumbled. This is gonna be something that you wanna press together to kind of pull it back together to being like big clumps, and then we'll scatter it on top. If it does look sandy, like all over, fix that a bit by pressing it together, let the butter warm up. We're getting to the tail end of our crumble, so it does start to look a bit sandy, and that's the stuff that we use to fill in the edges. That's the stuff that we push together with our fingers. When you're making this, you're gonna be like, oh, this is a thick crumble, and it is. You're welcome. So we're gonna get those to the edges, and that's just because this crumble is about 1/3 of the cake. So you're getting your money's worth. And then this goes into the oven at 375 for about 60 to 70 minutes. We'll check it at the 15-minute mark, and if it's getting too dark, we'll tent it with a little bit of foil. Okay, the cake's been in for 49 minutes, 42 seconds, because we believe in precision here, which is a great time to check on it. There are already a few signs that it needs a little bit more time. There's some slight jiggle to the top. You want that to be fully set, and then that's the best time to check it with a toothpick. All right, we have our beautiful cake. It will sink down a little, so right now it's very domed, but it's just gonna deflate. We have some nice browning on top, and I learned this from Great British Baking Show, but you can listen to your cakes. And this one has no bubbling, which is a great sign, but sometimes it'll have like a light bubbling, and sometimes it'll have like soda pop bubbling that you can hear. Soda pop means that your batter is not yet cooked through. There's a lot of bubbling still happening, a lot of reactions happening. Light bubbling means that it's ready. You can take it out. The residual heat will keep baking the cake. And no bubbling means like she's done. And I like to let this one cool for about 45 minutes or until I can touch the pan easily with my hands. It is the worst fact that the longer you let a cake cool, the better the slice will be. It's unfair, arguably, that we have to wait. So if you can wait until everything is very cool to the touch, that's best, but 45 minutes or until this is safe to handle with your fingers. That's all you need. It's a heavy lift, but I am strong. The things that you want to look for is you can see this cranberry relish line really prominently here, so you know that it didn't sink to the bottom. This nice browning on the outside is like perfectly golden, and that's why we don't grease the whole pan, because it would darken too quickly with that long bake time. The top, you can see that we have so much crumble, which is exactly what we wanted. Nothing sunk into the cake. Everything's ready to be sliced. Wow, 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 wow. It's the slicing into it that to me is the most satisfying part of this, because the cranberry relish will get all like softened and kind of drip out of it, but still be structured and be like right in the center. The crumb, you can pick right off the top if you are gonna go for the big crumbs, but also the sandy bits like make it really uniform. I feel like I did this whole video for this moment. Okay. The cranberry relish is like perfectly tart. The crumble is like fall apart in your mouth. And since we used the boozier version of the eggnog, there's a little bit of like a depth of flavor here that I'm very happy with. You can find this recipe and more of my recipes at NewYorkTimesCooking.com. Happy holidays, happy eggnog days. Hope you make it. That's boozy. I should not have done that on set. Anyways, okay.